But yes, so it seems like you're yeah. Although Massachusetts where I live, I'm not licensed, so that's why it's really hard. Yeah. So it's harder to really gauge what. LinkedIn, yeah, I personally am not using it all. I mean, I have it set up, but I don't even know what to post on LinkedIn because I feel like I'm supposed to be more.
He likes when people walk down. Oh, and you're not here. But if you know that it's fine here.
Hi, I'm Sophia Wiseman. I'm the host of Vagina Talks, and you all know why you're here. If you haven't heard her name yet this weekend, you are probably not here. This is our resident master of LinkedIn that is referred to pretty frequently, and she's going to share 3 ways to use LinkedIn to power up your podcast. She is the host of the podcast, Good Girls Get Rich. Please give a warm end of the conference, full-hearted welcome to Karen Tankovich.
Okay, so we are, in addition to being here, I'm trying to find spots where I can stay here. We're broadcasting this to all of the places. We're on LinkedIn, so how you know LinkedIn, my LinkedIn people, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope. We've got a couple 100,000 people have gotten notification of this, so we need to have some energy for the rest of these people. We need visibility, we need credibility, we need all of this for our podcast. So I'm just going to preface this by saying I was changing this presentation up to a half an hour ago. So I'm going to have to skip through some things to get to some things I wanted to do because this weekend has been incredible. Yeah. And every time I talk to somebody, I think of something else I want to share with you, or something else happens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that'd be great for this presentation. So I'm going to, at the end, I'm going to share with you how we can talk further after this, because I have to skip through some things here, because I just kept adding things literally to about a half hour ago. So if there was only one thing that I could teach you about digital marketing, it would be this. It is, you know, we are all digital marketers. And somebody in this room, you know who you are, said to me a little while ago, I don't know about Facebook, I don't know about social media, I'm gonna be done with social media. I'm like, in my head thinking, how do you have a podcast, which is digital, and be done with social media, but she'll figure that out. You know, you have to promote it, right? You have to promote it. And it's not just, what I want everybody here to realize is it is not just about promoting your podcast. It's about stepping into the role that you all have heard about over and over and over this weekend, right? The role of an influencer, the role of a journalist. That's what we all are. That's all of us that have podcasts. That's what we all are. And I don't want this to be complicated for you. I don't want this to take a ton of your time. My goal is this is maybe going to be a few hours a week of your time. And I'm telling you, if you do a half hour a couple times a week and you dedicate that, you're going to be calling me up in a month going, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner? You know, I'm now spending all my time on LinkedIn, like, you know, I can't do that. So there's something I want to start with, like kind of just to set the tone for this. A lot of times people think of LinkedIn as your resume, right? And the resume is who you used to be. It's all the jobs you've had, all the things you've done, all the experiences you've had, all the skills you have. But your LinkedIn profile is who you are becoming. It is who you are stepping into. It is the role that you have really, hopefully, I mean, I know I've shifted my business thinking after the last couple of days. I can't imagine that there's anybody in this room that has not had a shift from what they were doing a week ago to what they're going to be doing next week, right? So here's the thing. If you're as jazzed as I am about the possibilities for your life and for your business and for your podcast and for the people that you serve with your podcast, now, like very last talk of the conference, now is the time for you to step into that, right? Now you have to, like, we're gonna leave here today. Like, we have to leave this insulated little bubble of love and friendliness and amazingness and step back into our real world. We have to step into that person now. Because a week from now or 2 weeks from now, you're gonna start to forget, right? I want you now to step into that role that you've created for yourself in your mind, right? Up to now at this conference. So we're gonna go a little tactical, and I'm gonna go through some tactics on LinkedIn, as well as some hopefully get you inspired to actually use it. A few of you are like, I'm not really using LinkedIn. You will after today. When we think about LinkedIn, there's a couple of things we think about, right? Sometimes we look at it and we're looking for a job. Other times we're looking for people to hire, right? We're looking to hire people. What we're going to be talking about today is the third piece, the networking piece. Where do you get clients? Where do you get partners? And the thing that should be on the slide and isn't on the slide is, how do you get more media for your podcast? How do you connect with journalists? What I do believe, even if you're looking for candidates or you're looking for a job, the tactics you learn in the networking piece is really about relationship building. And that's going to help you not just with building relationships for your podcast, for guests, for hosts, for sponsors, whatever, but also if you're looking for a job, right? It's still all relationship based. That's how we grow. That's how we build our lives. So 2 seconds about me. I'm the host of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I use my business. My podcast grows my business. My podcast is the front end of my business. It is a business tool. I love it. I went from blogging a few years ago, and I will say, blogging consistently every single week, way back in probably 2013, is where my business started to take off when I got really consistent, because people started to see me as an influencer. When somebody would ask me a question, I'd be able to say, well, I have a blog about this. Let me send it to you, right? And that's when people can start to see you as an influencer. And at some point, I just got a little tired of free ways that you can use LinkedIn to whatever, right? I still kind of do it with my podcast. I think my podcast this week is 5 ways to do something, but I love I love being a podcaster. And as I've heard in some of the talks, and I'm sure you guys all know this, it is a whole lot more work than it ever was blogging. You write a blog, you grab an image, you pop it on your website, put a header, put a headline in, a couple little tags, you're good. Oh no. With podcasting, you gotta do everything. And then when you first start podcasting, everything's on your to-do list, right? So we're swamped. We already have the passion, we have the idea, we're getting our message out, and now we have 45,000 things on our to-do list because we're gonna do it every week, right? And I'm not saying don't do all of those other things, but what I am saying is that LinkedIn is my money tree. You guys all have $1 million bills on your chairs? LinkedIn is my money tree. It is where the profits come in, because at the end of the day, I don't have enough time to do all of these things. I needed to get some clients so that I could pay some people to do all of the things so that I could do this, right? So that I could be talking to you, I could get my message out to more people, I could start to step into my role as an influencer, right? But it is less about podcast download numbers and more about where's the money from my podcast. And the money from my podcast is the relationships. It is the credibility it gives me as an influencer, as a member of the media, or as, whatever title you give somebody that does what I do. It gives me credibility, but it also, my goal is to drive business to my business, which is LinkedIn marketing. And when I did a talk a couple weeks ago at Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference, and it was the first podcast conference I went to 3 or 4 years ago. And I was listening to it this time when I was sitting there, and I was listening to all the speakers that got up and said, forget about download numbers. And I'm not saying you shouldn't get sponsors, because there's lots of ways to get sponsors, but it is not the way you're going to monetize your podcast in the first year. It may not ever be the way you're going to monetize your podcast, right? And I was sitting there thinking, did I hear that? Were they saying those same things 3 years ago? Because when I started my podcast, I was like, I'm going to get sponsors. So these are all the ways we are told that we can monetize our podcast. We can have funnels. We can build our email list. We can do product sales. We can be talking about affiliate links. I do all of these things. Okay, I'm not saying don't do these things. Okay, but that's a lot of work. Because to get all those things, you gotta do all these things, right? Like who's doing all this, right? This is like you wake up one morning and you're like, all right, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So which is what brings me back time and time again to LinkedIn, because it is not as time consuming as everything else, okay? So we're gonna talk about, I promise you, 3 ways that your podcast can grow using LinkedIn. We're gonna start talking about the 3, it's kind of like a 3-part system that I use. And the first thing is to start to use LinkedIn to establish authority and to stand out. There's 800 women here. I don't know, somebody probably knows the number of how many podcasts are out there. We have to stand out, and that's on us, right? That's on us. It is great. It is great if you open your door one day and Oprah came and she was knocking on it. But chances are you have to invite her, right? Like, no, it doesn't happen just by like, like it's not if you build it, they will come. We have to bring them to us. We have to stand out in this noisy world. And that's your LinkedIn profile. And a lot of times what I hear from people is, I don't like to talk about myself. I can talk all day long about my podcast and the things I'm passionate about, but talking about me, I'd rather not. They don't need to know all that. Oh yeah, they do, right? Or maybe you don't know how to stand out. Maybe you don't know what makes you different from everyone else, right? Or maybe you feel like you haven't done anything impressive. I promise you, if you're thinking any of these things right now, you are not alone, because I hear this all the time from my clients. So where you do that is your LinkedIn profile, right? You have to start to step into your LinkedIn profile. So here are some of the tactical things I said we were going to talk about today. If you look at this right here, this is your headline. And this is going to default to your most current experience, okay? Your most current experience is going to say CPA, coach. I guess there's people out there searching for a CPA as a coach, but if you go to LinkedIn and type in coach, no one's gonna ever find you, right? So what you want to do is you want to think about before, like one of the things my company does is write LinkedIn profiles. And before we put pen to paper or fingers to the typewriter, 2 things happen. 1, we identify with the customer, who is it that you're trying to attract with your LinkedIn profile? Who's your ideal client? How do you want to be seen in the world? What is your unique selling proposition? What we call this your positioning statement. Who is it that you help? How do you help them? Because you need to understand that. So, because at the end of the day, your LinkedIn profile is about you, but nobody really cares about you, right? They care about what you can do for them. So you need to understand that before you put one word to your paper here. The second thing is think keywords. Think about what are people searching for on LinkedIn that you want to come up as the search result, right? So here's the thing with that. I teach LinkedIn marketing. So if you look at my profile, I've got the words LinkedIn in there twice. I've got keynote speaker, consultant, I tell you who I help entrepreneurs and business professionals. If somebody's on LinkedIn looking for a LinkedIn keynote speaker, I want my profile to come up. Here's the problem with that. Everyone that teaches LinkedIn knows how to do that. So I'm not going to come up. But the beautiful thing is you don't have that same problem, right? Everybody else in your world does not know how to do this. So you need to be doing this, okay? You need to be thinking about I'm going to show you in a little bit. By the way, if you don't have the LinkedIn app on your phone, I feel like I've reminded everybody 100 times, but I want you to we're going to be looking at the app on your phone, so make sure that you have the app on your phone and that you can log into it, because we're going to look at it. The next section I want you to look about is this section here. Up until 2 months ago, this section was called a summary. And a summary is boring. It's like, what was the book about, right? Like, give me a couple of sentences. LinkedIn recently changed it to about a tiny change with, I think, massive psychological change, right? Because if you know anything about digital marketing, you know that your about page is probably the most visited page on your website, because we're nosy. We want to know more about the people we do business with. This section is also the section that most people overlook and skip because it's hard, right? This is a hard section. You've got 2,000 characters here that you can feed LinkedIn for LinkedIn searches and PS Google, okay? So use them. Use them. You'll notice that I don't want to dive deep into this because again, I have a lot of them to cover here, but you'll see mine's in first person. There's a lot of white space. At the very end, every one of those things that I've listened to my specialties, I promise you those are all my keywords, right? So it's another way to feed them in, okay? Make it interesting. Nobody really cares that you know Word and Excel. Talk about maybe transformations that you get when you work with clients. Like, make people read that and go, I want that. right? How many people in this room have experience on their LinkedIn profile as a podcast host? Okay, so maybe 15, 20% of the room. Okay, why not? Why not? Credibility, right? Call yourself, let the world know you have a podcast. You are a podcast host. You know, I have the name of my podcast. Look at this, I actually get to link to, so there's media. You can add media to your LinkedIn profile. So I pick a couple of things that my show, every other show is a guest, an interview. Opposite show is a solo show. So I picked 2 solo shows and 2 guest shows, and I just picked ones that got a lot of downloads that people seemed interested in. It's another way to just get more eyes on my podcast. But if somebody's searching and I come up in a search on LinkedIn and they see this, they can click to that and they can listen to an episode and see if not only do they like my podcast, but do they like the way I speak? Not everybody's gonna like the way you speak, right? But let's get the right people. You'll get the right fits if you put enough stuff on there where people can see what you do. So make sure you're putting an experience on your experience section for your podcast and add some media. I've got podcast episodes also loaded to my about section. You know, I think I have episode 1 there so you can learn about my podcast, right? So there's lots of places you can add media. And to do that, you literally just have to click the pencil and put a link in to your podcast.
Can you take that necklace off?
Is it hitting you?
Yeah, it's rubbing against the making noises. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to show you another section. This is where I want you to pick up your phones now for a second. I want you to pick up your phone and, where's that? I want you to pick up your phone and I want you to look at look at your profile. Open up LinkedIn, but I want you to be looking at your actual profile, okay? There's a dashboard there. And this is, remember, you're not looking at your wall. You're actually looking at clicking the picture of your head and looking at your profile, where you're seeing where you talk about what it is you do. I want you to look at that and you'll see, has anybody here seen the dashboard? So what it does is it tells you on that dashboard how many times you've come up in search results in the last week, okay? If it's anything other than 0, you are coming up in search results. 989 times in the last week. Does anybody want 4,000 more views of them in a month, right? I mean, I'll pay somebody to do that to my website. This is free, right? So you'll see in the dashboard how many times you've come up in search results in the last week. You see some other cool stuff too. But I want you to then click on that number. So the number of times you come up in search appearances. If you click on that number, this comes up. And if you have small numbers, you might not have a lot of information here. You will have bigger numbers in a couple of weeks if you implement some of the things we talked about here. But it'll tell you where your searchers work, what your searchers do, and the top keywords you were found for. Does anybody see that? So, so you might not have the keyword there if you don't have a lot of search results. If your search results are 10 or 20 or 30, you might not have keywords there.
But you press right on Google your profile.
You click, no, you press on the number of times you've come up in search appearances in your dashboard. Okay, so if you're coming up for dog walker, it does not mean that LinkedIn is broke. It means you're not feeding it properly. This is not an exact science. You cannot, don't overthink this. Don't say I can't talk to my hairdresser because hairdresser, I might come up in hairdresser searches. Don't worry about that. Be active on LinkedIn, talk to everyone, but feed it. Feed it in your profile, feed it in the conversations you're having, feed it in the types of content that you're putting out there because you want to come up more in search results. All this is done up front, right? This is done up front. Once it's done, you might want to tweak it every now and then, but it's done, right? So you want to take care of this.
How do you feed it? I guess you're going to talk about that later.
How do you feed it? Well, you're putting keywords in your headline and all the things we already talked about, right? You're going to put keywords in. Here's the deal. If you do this, this piece right here has to be done for anything else I talk about in this presentation to work properly. Okay, because if people, you're not going to come up in search results for the right things if you're not feeding it properly, right? If you're not putting keywords in the right places and talking about the things you do, take some time and think about what people are searching for on LinkedIn that you want to come up as a search result. It might be different than Google, right? Like I have a client who sells supplements, like some kind of supplement thing. Nobody's going to LinkedIn to search the supplement, but they might be looking for a product they can put in their health food store, right? So on Google, people are searching for the supplement. On LinkedIn, they're not searching for the supplements. You just got to think about it. It's a little different than your search engine SEO. If you want to speak, what do you speak about? Use it in those words in there. Use the word speaker in there so you come up for those kinds of things. Because here's the thing. If you do this and you create this profile and you step into this role as this person, it immediately is going to get your profile in front of more people. So have you guys seen the Pot It booth that's in the back over there? The Pot It where you can get, they're giving free access for lifetime to everybody in this room to be on their platform. So, and it's a how to get on podcast. So check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. So I saw them at the MapCon conference 3 weeks ago, and I got on their platform and did nothing. Didn't put my profile up, didn't do anything. I put it up, I had a profile up there, it didn't have anything in it. And of course I came here and I had a little Pot It profile shame and went over to the booth yesterday and I was talking to them and they were helping me. I literally last night copied and pasted from my LinkedIn profile to my Pot It profile to make the Pot It profile pop and be keyword friendly and full of stuff. And I woke up to this morning. Hey Karen, we'd like to have you on our podcast as a guest. Wow. One day after I updated my profile. Is Carrie here? Carrie was on the Hoova app, and I was doing LinkedIn profile reviews for some of the people in the past few weeks on the Hoova app, and this is what she said to me when I gave her some suggestions. I made your suggested changes, and my profile views went up by 400%. This is by changing your profile. You haven't posted anything yet. You haven't done anything. All you're doing is stepping into that person that is in your head that you've created after all of the amazingness of this weekend. Okay, so everybody starting to understand that power of just at the very least have the great profile. Okay, that is going to get you more visibility, and more visibility leads to more credibility, leads to more clients, right? 100%. I could talk about this forever, but we got to move on. The second thing I want to talk about is your network. I know we're all getting a million connection requests and a million messages from people that say, I can get you leads, right? Yeah. I am not looking for you to spam your LinkedIn network. I want you to micro-target and think big, okay? Is there somebody that you would love to have as a guest on your show? Or is there a show that you would love to be a guest on, right? You've listened to the show. Have you connected with the host on LinkedIn? Remember, your profile has to be done first, right? Because if your profile is not done, you're not really going to be impressive enough. I want you to be impressive. I want people to be like, I need to know her. You've done the profile work. Now connect with the hosts of the shows you want to be a guest on, right? And get to know them. And when you start to, we're going to talk about that in the next part, building relationships. You know, I want you to micro-target. Do you belong to a business organization? If you do, whether it's a B&I group or a chamber of commerce or whatever you belong, She Podcasts, right? We know there's 800 people here. Now the 800 people, probably 750 are not really any, they're great people, but they're not really somebody that can really take our business to the next level. But those 50, right? Those are who you want to get to know. So I want you to cherry pick through the business organizations you're already a part of and say, hey, we were both at She Podcast. Wasn't it amazing? I'd love to, let's get to know each other. I love your show. I listen to it. Cherry pick. I don't want you to connect with 100 people a week. I want you to connect with 5 people a week. I don't want you to do this. Hey, I represent you and I can help you with your tax questions. I don't have any tax questions, right? I didn't ask you. I don't want that. I don't want you to be that person. I want you to be this person. Hey, Karen, I'm going to see you speak at an event coming up. Let's connect. Now, I got to tell you something. Talk about be careful what you wish for. I teach this everywhere. Like, hey, are you going to a conference? Connect with the people ahead of time, because then when you get to the conference, you'll know people. And then here comes She Podcast and Hoova. And right, and it's like, okay, there's 400 people now that I want to meet that I do. But honestly, this isn't typical, right? It's not typical. I have a client who went to a conference in India, and she's no single person. She was a speaker, so we went through the list of speakers and said, who is it? Cherry pick. Who are the speakers that may be good collaborators for you? Now, they didn't know anybody there either. But before she even got there, she connected with them on LinkedIn. She had a great profile. She looked worthy of their time. And she was able then to get there and had coffee dates and lunch dates before she even got there, right? Because she cherry picked, went through LinkedIn to find out the people that she was going. If you're going to a conference, there's a reason for that, right? Connect with the speakers that you think would be good, that would be valuable for you. Connect with other attendees that might be valuable for you, right? Cherry pick your LinkedIn network and build actual relationships that can explode your business. Sponsors, guests for your podcast, to be a guest on the podcast, the press. Do you go to your local, like I live in New Jersey. There's a magazine in New Jersey called NJ Biz, I think it is. So there's an njbiz.com site. I go into that site once a month. I throw the word LinkedIn into the search bar because I want to see who locally is talking about LinkedIn because I want them to know I exist. So I go to the article, I look up the journalist on LinkedIn, the guy that wrote the article, and I connect with them on LinkedIn. Remember, my profile's done, right? So when I connect with them, I look worthy of their time. I'm like, just saw this article, share the article. I have a client that did this, actually it was an NBCnews.com article. As a realtor in Washington State, he connected with a journalist that wrote an article about real estate on NBCnews.com, had a great profile, shared it with his network. And she of course replied and thanked him for doing that because journalists love when we share their stuff. We love, somebody said, I want to share your podcast. We'd be like, go ahead, thank you so much, right? She appreciated it. She reached out to him and within a week and said, can I ask you a few questions? It turned into a full-page article on NBCnews.com about housing prices, quoting nobody but him in the whole article. It's seen by 65 million people a month. And not that that's really going to help him if somebody in, Kansas City saw this article about this realtor in Washington State, but when he prints that baby and drops it on the table when he goes on a listing appointment, when they're talking about how to price the house, and he says, well, when I was NBC News' pricing expert last month, right? He doesn't lose a listing. And it was as simple as connecting with the journalist on LinkedIn that wrote an article that he liked, sharing the article, providing value. You guys see how that can work? All right, so I want you to pick up your phones again and open the LinkedIn app because there's another cool app, and a few people here have been doing this, but if you open the LinkedIn app, at the very bottom, you'll see some icons, and one of the icons is 2 little heads. So click the 2 little heads. Now, on every phone, this is different. There might be a little blue circle to your right that says Find Nearby, and it's off, or there might be something at the top that says Find Nearby. What you're looking for is something that says Find Nearby, and you want to turn it on. And everybody in this room is going to start to pop up. So if you want to practice all of the things I'm standing here talking about today, start to connect with me, start to connect with each other in this room.
Wow, that's so creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Well, yeah, but as soon as you change this page, by the way, you're no longer logged in. As soon as you go back to like any other page on your phone, you're no longer logged in. But, think about how, I want you to practice actually building relationships. So connect with each other here. Maybe you'll see somebody else that has, yep, you have a question? Yep. So you go, there's 2 little heads at the bottom. What?
On the sales phone, you have to click the plus person in the bottom right-hand corner, and it'll pop up a little menu that includes the Find Nearby.
Perfect. So it's hard for me to tell you where it is because everybody has a different phone. But I can show you it later if we can't do it now, because I don't want to take a ton of time here. But this is what you should be seeing, something like that now. Start to connect with each other. Practice this. Actually reach out to somebody next week and say, hey, we were in Karen's talk, and I see, I didn't get to meet you at the conference, but I see you do this. Build actual relationships. Because what I want is your calendar to fill up. I want your calendar to fill up with people you can actually talk to. Not people that you have, we have a lot of pen pals on social media, right? We have a lot of people that we know but don't really know. I want you to get on the phone with these people, okay? I want you to be actually talking to these people and building actual relationships. So you can use, like I said, this is a safe space. Connect with each other, build relationships, actually talk to each other. And again, so thinking about the people that we talked about before, the 5 people a week you're going to micro target. Let's say it could be the media. Let's say you're going to a conference. Okay, so first you connect with them. Now people ask, I must have gotten asked this 5 times at this conference, maybe 10 times. I can connect with people I don't know. And the answer there is yes. But at the end of the day, the warmer you can make the intro, the better shot you're going to have at building a relationship with them. So if you say we're both at the She Podcast Conference, at least you're warming up the intro a little bit. If you say we're both part members of the Princeton Chamber of Commerce, you're warming up the intro a little bit. If you say, I listen to your podcast, you're warming up the intro. I don't want you to just, the reality is, when you're doing this, in 6 months, you're gonna have an amazing LinkedIn network. right? It's not just gonna be full of people you don't know. It's gonna be full of people you intentionally put there because they are rock stars, okay? But at the same time, you're also building, you're filling up your calendar. I want you to actually get on the phone with these people. So it's not just about having a big network. It's about building relationships. Because when you talk to people, that I talked to 100 people, probably 200 people this weekend. And there's a few people I got to talk to for longer periods of time. And those are the people I'm probably going to remember, right? The people that I actually got a chance to talk to. Not the ones that I saw their LinkedIn profile and said, okay, this is great. You look amazing, because in 2 weeks you're gonna forget they existed. But if you talk to them on the phone, you're gonna remember them. So again, with this micro-targeting, now they've connected with you, I am a huge fan of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's $80 a month. If LinkedIn Sales Navigator ever has an affiliate program, I am going to be buying a beach house in Tahiti, because I tell everybody in the world they should have it, because it leverages your time. And our time, we already talked about how exhausted we are from all the things, right? So $70 a month leverages your time in a couple ways. So one of the things Sales Navigator does is it allows you to create a search, which you can dive deep into the search, but it allows you to create a search. But in that search, then you can narrow it down by only people that have been active in the last 30 days. So now you're not connecting with, if you're connecting with 10 people, 6 or 7 of them may not have actually logged into LinkedIn in the last 2 years, right? So now you're only connecting with 5 to 10 people. And if you use Sales Navigator, there are people that are active, okay? So let's say you're using Sales Navigator, you connect with 10 people, let's just use 50%, 5 of them accept your connection request. And of those 5, you're looking now to start a conversation. Now your response is, thanks so much for connecting. I've been listening to your podcast. I read your article. I see you do yoga. I see you live in, Indianapolis. I had the best steak of my life there. Something that lets them know it's not a robot that is sending this first message out. Literally like as if we met each other here. Okay, LinkedIn is a networking platform. It is not just and by the way, it's all business. So I'm not dissing Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all those other things, but this is all business, right? You walk into a Chamber of Commerce meeting, everybody's there to do business. You don't walk up to them and pitch yourself, but there's a business conversation somewhere happening. Same with LinkedIn. It's okay to do that. It's not necessarily okay to do that on the other platforms. Please don't forget about the media. Okay, the media, I'm not kidding you when I tell you this it is so easy. News is 24/7. I don't know if you guys sat in on some of the presentations here about that, but journalists need us. You are an expert. They can see what you're an expert at. You have a podcast. They can listen to a couple of them to see if you're there. If they start to feature you, or even just question you, and you get to start using their logos as seen on, right? All of that builds your credibility. Because what I want you to do, if nothing else, when you leave this conference, is to step into your role as an influencer. And many of you may be old enough to remember the glass ceiling, right? Like, remember there was a glass ceiling we all had to, and I really decided probably 5 or 6 years ago, I think actually, if you Google my name and glass ceiling, there's probably a couple articles I wrote about it. Like, screw the glass ceiling, walk around the glass ceiling, right? Like, we can create our own lives. But this morning, and we're doing that with our podcast, by the way, right? We are creating our own world. We're not worried about who we have to, where we have the top ceiling. There is no top ceiling where we're sitting right now. We can create our own. So this morning, like I said, I've been changing this presentation all day. This morning, I see this article. Now there's a glass floor. Not only is there a glass ceiling, now there's a glass floor about how and I was like, it exhausted me, but this line right here was really interesting to me. There's a lot of relatively untalented people who aren't fit, who aren't going to end up occupying positions that they should. Right? Can everybody attest to that happening? You can ignore them. We have the beauty of being able to ignore the glass ceilings and the glass floors and create our own path that has no glass ceilings, no glass floors. We just can talk to, and LinkedIn is where you do that. You can talk to whomever you want to talk to. Okay? I mean, I'll give you another example. On NJBiz.com, there's I again age myself with a few of these things, but I grew up in the sales years of having to get past the gatekeeper, right? So if you want to interview somebody, and Alyssa over here was talking about interviewing people in the Fortune 5,000 group, right? So if it was 15 years ago, she'd have to go to their receptionist and get past her, and then go to the secretary of the person she wants to interview, and get past that person to get to the person she wants to talk to. Well, on njbiz.com, in addition to connecting with the journalist, I went to the publisher, connected with him on LinkedIn and said, I think we should be doing workshops in New Jersey about LinkedIn for the residents of New Jersey. And he went, that's a great idea. Call Susie, tell her to set that up. Now, instead of calling Susie and saying, can I get to your boss? I'm calling Susie and saying, hey, Susie, your boss wants you to do this, right? We can do that now, but we have to own that and step into that and create that and be that person confident enough to make those phone calls and build those powerful relationships. I want you to think big. I want you to think big here because it can happen for you that easily. So you might want to take a screenshot of this. If you're wondering, like, what do I do on a regular basis to create, to do this? I log into LinkedIn. I will tell you that LinkedIn is up on my phone all the time. It's up on my computer, or it's always open. I review my connection requests. I look to see if I have any notifications. I post on my wall. We didn't really talk about that, but yes, I'd like you to create content, but you don't have to create content. If you have people that are influential to you that can help leverage your brand, be a resource to them. Share their content. Like literally, again, Sales Navigator allows you to call them a lead, even though nobody sees that. And now you can have a separate wall of just the content your leads are talking about. And now you can go in, like I call my clients leads, not because they're already my clients, but I can see what they've posted and it allows me now to easily share it. And now I'm becoming a valuable resource to them. So look to see who else is posting on LinkedIn. Is there somebody's podcast that you want to be a guest on? Is there somebody that you want to have them be a guest on your podcast? See what they're posting and share that, because that gets your name in front of them consistently. You want to stay top of mind to these influential people that you're developing relationships with, right? You don't want them to be like, what's that girl's name? She called me a couple of months ago, right? You want them to know who you are. Work your messages. This is an important one. And I realized a couple months ago that my LinkedIn inbox is the first place I go. So if anybody needs to reach me after this, that's where you get me. My inbox, my email inbox, I am not standing up here loud and proud about this, but it is a black hole. Right? It is a black hole. And I am working on that, but my LinkedIn inbox is where the money is. It's where the business is. I am on those messages. And you'll also notice that in the LinkedIn messages, they now have green circles next to the names. Yeah. That means they're live and they're on LinkedIn. So if you see a green circle next to somebody you want to talk to, you can chat with them. Okay, you can literally chat with them. So look, if you see that green circle next to somebody that you've been wanting to have a conversation with, that's the time to message them. You might even want to wait till you see that green circle to message them, right? So that you know they're sitting in front of their computer and LinkedIn is open and they may get a quick response from you, right? This doesn't take a ton of time, but I want you to think strategically. Okay, so now, and LinkedIn's actually started to call it chat. I've noticed in a few places, they started to call it a chat. Yeah. See what's happening in your groups? I've mentioned to a couple of people here that have local-based podcasts. LinkedIn groups are amazing to reach your local community. Every community that I've ever looked for from me or my clients has, North Jersey Networking Group, New Jersey Networking Group, Jersey Shore Networking Group, right? They have LinkedIn groups, and those groups tend to be active. So be a member of those groups. If you have a podcast that is geographically based, don't go in there and just pitch your podcast, but maybe you can find guests, or maybe you can jump in there and say, oh, I just did a podcast episode about that. Check that out, right? You don't want to go into these groups and just pitch, but you do want to go into these groups and be a resource to the groups, get to know people in the group, let them know you have a podcast, because guess what? After I said podcast with 45,000 steps, we know that really having a podcast means picking up your phone and talking into it and recording, right? But the rest of the world doesn't know that. They think it's a big deal. It is a big deal, right? But they don't know that they can easily do that too. So when you're in these local networking groups and they see that you've got a podcast, you are going to appear, you're going to have more credibility than everybody else in that group, right? And it's going to help you get more guests, get more downloads, get more people listening to your show. Don't skip this initiate connection request piece. I tell people, even if it feels like you're brushing your teeth, like, do not skip this piece. Because if I skip this piece and I look at my calendar, I'm like, why don't I have any phone calls this week? It's because I skipped number 7 a couple weeks ago, right? You've got to not skip this piece. And my goal is to get on the phone with people. So if you're wondering here, okay, like that sounds more exhausting, not less exhausting. I'm here to support you with this. I have a few free gifts for you. Actually, let me see if this is empty. What I am going to do, if anybody is interested, I have a, oh, well, this is actually kind of an announcement, sure, too. I actually have a LinkedIn program called Get LinkedUp, and we're doing a LinkedIn profile challenge the end of this month that is going to be kind of announcing the new program, and I am rebranding the entire program to She's LinkedUp, LinkedIn for Women Influencers. So this is the first time anybody's really hearing that. So one person in this room, if you guys want to pass this bag around and throw your business card in, or there's business cards of mine, you can write your name and email address on it. I'm going to give away one seat to this. It starts in November. One seat to that, and then you'll also get, if you want the slide presentation and access to my upcoming LinkedIn profile challenge. And I gotta tell you, one of the things I learned this weekend is to step into that a little more powerfully. My challenge was not branded She's LinkedUp, because I was like, well, I have a lot of guys that are clients. They'll find out when the program comes out. If my team is watching this on the live stream, they're probably going, holy crap, Karen, are you kidding me? Because the pages are up. Sorry, guys. But we are going to rebrand the challenge also to She's LinkedUp. And it's going to be a LinkedIn profile challenge. And the challenge, and it's a challenge because that's what people call it. It's really a 5-day free training that starts October 28th, and it's completely free. But we're not only, I don't want to teach you exactly what to do, but I want to inspire you a little bit with stepping into that role that I know you were meant to do. It's not easy to do your own LinkedIn profile. So my foot's going to be on your butt a little bit to help you do that. So while that's getting passed around, I will pull a card when I get it back. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
Tell me, so I've been on LinkedIn forever. I have zillions of connections. I just accept everybody unless it's multi-level marketing or something weird.
Yeah.
But I never really, I get tons of recruiter requests. You know, I'm in the technology sales. I don't think about email through LinkedIn. I compartmentalize that from work.
Mm-hmm.
Do other people on the other side, who is actively engaged? If I'm going to send them a message, do they think the same way, or are they actively looking through their emails?
Well,
on LinkedIn?
I think if you're getting a lot of recruiter requests, you may need to check your settings, because you might have a setting that says, I'm interested in job opportunities. So you may want to check your settings, unless you are interested in job opportunities. I don't get a lot of recruiter requests. So I think that when you're in LinkedIn more often, if all you're doing is being reactive to this, then most of the stuff in your inbox is going to be crap.
Yes.
Right? But once you get more active and you're sending out messages and you're starting true, real conversations with people, your inbox becomes more valuable because you started the conversations, right? If you sit there and tell me there's nothing in my inbox, it's all garbage, I'm like, right, well, who was the last person you reached out to, right? And if you reach out to 10 people, I'm not saying all 10 people are going to get back to you. Maybe 5 will, maybe 3 will, but you will start, that you are going to start to have powerful conversations. And again, if you're using Sales Navigator, where you see people active on LinkedIn, or you see the green dot, then you'll be able to have those conversations with people you know are active, and that will help your success rate also.
I work for a big technology company, and that's why I get a lot.
Right. And my thing is, I'm not really worried about what I don't want. I just ignore that, and I just focus on what I do want. You have a question?
Yeah, I do. So I have my day job has nothing to do with my podcast, and so I've always used LinkedIn to get feedback for my day job. So should I have 2 separate LinkedIn profiles, or should I just add on?
It is. First of all, that's against LinkedIn's terms of service, and risk warning of getting shut down. It is the #1 question that I'm asked. Whether it's I have a podcast in this, or I'm a Reiki master by night and a CPA by day, right? It is the #1 question that I get. LinkedIn is your personal brand. It is all you. If it's going to get you fired, then obviously you want to be conscious of that. But unless it's going to get you fired, do it. Own it. It's who you are. It's part of your brand. It makes you interesting. People will be like, that's really cool. And that might make somebody reach out to you about something else, right? So it is, all of the things you did, it all makes you who you are today. When I actually have a podcast episode about, just recently, a couple episodes ago, if you want to find it, about the experience section. And I talk about that section, even build the story of where you are. Even if it doesn't make sense, even if it has nothing to do with what you did now. If you do customer service now, and you worked at McDonald's when you were 20, talk about the fact that when crazy Mr. Murphy walked in the door, everybody else ran and shoved you to the register because they knew you were the one that could handle the difficult clients. Just tell us what's relevant to what you're doing now. So pull those things together, and that's the brand of you. Yeah, you have a question?
So you were talking about how the about section was really important, and this may be too detailed, but for the about section, should it be from first person perspective, or should it be like a bio written?
Well, I think it should be first person. I always want it to be first person because you want to make a personal connection with people, right? So you want it to be in your voice. In fact, one of the things I recommend people do is read it out loud when it's done to see if it feels like that. Because you do not have to be somebody you don't, like you don't have to pretend to be somebody else than you are. You know, I did talk to realtors recently, and I said, you know, if your thing as a realtor is you walk into houses and you immediately start feng shuiing things and waving sage around, I want to know that on your LinkedIn profile. Don't think you have to be this corporate realtor because people are going to go, I need her. The right people your vibe will attract your tribe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Alyssa?
I have a question about sharing, say, a blog post or show notes. Do you recommend that we share the link from our website, which is kind of what I've been doing, or kind of cutting and pasting and putting it as a LinkedIn article?
Both. I share the link from my website first, and then about a month later, we create a LinkedIn long form post with the show, with the show notes. I will say you can add audio to the LinkedIn. So what I've started doing is, and when I say I started doing, I'm trying to be consistent with this, but I've occasionally been doing, trying to get more consistent with doing like a 5-minute recap of the show live on Facebook, and then then putting that on YouTube, and then using the YouTube link on that, and then with a link underneath of it. You know, here's the interesting things about the show. Quick little recap. You're gonna love this interview. You're gonna love when we talk about this, and then the link underneath. Listen to the full show, and then the show notes. Again, it gets more eyes on something that you're already doing, right? I will take more questions if I have time, but I want to pull a card and get a winner for the She's Linked Up program. The very first person to enter the program is Free to Learn, Danielle. And anybody else, I'll send you all of this too if I have your card. If you don't want all this stuff, just unsubscribe and get my email. I don't care. They're not kicking me out. I'll keep taking questions. Yep, the blue scarf.
In terms of career change, like I've been doing the same thing for years, like totally unrelated podcasting in Africa, blah, blah, and now I'm changing careers. So I'm going to make a podcast next year. So I haven't changed my profile yet because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going yet, and I don't know what's the name of the podcast yet, and I don't know. So how do you position yourself in those times?
So I mean, the beautiful thing is, it isn't work. As all of us are. Your LinkedIn profile is a work in progress. Put where you are today. Create get some visibility. Start talking about the things that your podcast is going to talk about. Start stepping into that role as an expert. And then, as your podcast gets live, then you can start calling you a host and doing all those other things. Just start stepping into it where you feel like you can now, and then as you move forward, it will start to shift. Okay, I'm getting like they got the hook here. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm here if you guys want to talk afterwards outside. I'm sure they want to clean. I'm sure these guys have been here for 4 days. They're ready to pack up and go home. So.
Can you send that to me? Yeah.
Oh, good. It was like, I know. No, not. Of course not. Of course not. I would love that. And send it to me. Yeah. So you're very welcome. What's your I agree. How do I get it? You just submit it. You do. You just submit it. I mean, education is submit. It might do it on the try to do it on your desktop because it's one more thing you think about. I actually did an interview with somebody that works at LinkedIn about company pages. And maybe like episode 71-ish. And she was like, I tell how
Got it.
Company pages? Yeah, LinkedIn company pages.
Got it.
I was wondering, because do you have a thoughts on, like, I heard from the last talk that she narrowed down her connection.
Wait, sorry, keep talking.
Yeah, she narrowed down her connection. I don't know what you're driving. Is it bad? Should I just accept everyone? Should I be selective? You know?
I just want to end the live